I'm colouring a page from Michelle Tracey's Grayscale Spirit and Fantasy colouring book today. I've printed my image on Xpress blending card and I'm using Copic markers, Prismacolour pencils and white gel pen and maybe a white Posca pen as well. Yeah, I'm starting the image with the skin. I'm using E000 to do a full layer over all of the face skin. Now colouring grayscale is a little bit different to just colouring a line image. You do need to make sure that you've got a good printer and that the ink won't come off as you're using a marker, otherwise you'll just smudge the ink as you're trying to do these colours. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to bring in my R20. I'm just marking in some shadow areas around the eyes and things like that at the moment. So my image is a lot of purples and pinks and blues, so I'm just adding in B60 to the shadow areas that are shown here. And I'm using BV00 for some of the shadow areas around the head here. And also just increasing the colour around the eyes there and the nose. Just going to blend all of that out with E000. Now if you're using pencils, I can give you some pencil substitute colours. If you were interested in those, just send me a bell and I can let you know. Grayscale is a little bit different to colouring a line image. Some people find it a little bit harder, some people find it easier. But just going over the top of the shadow areas that are in that grayscale picture is all we really do with the dark colours, and then obviously we go over the lighter areas of the picture with lighter colours. I'm just going to add to the shadow areas now with E11. I'm now just going to go over that colour with E21 and just bring that colour out a little bit further into the wider areas. So what we're actually doing is we're building up colour from the shadows out to the highlight areas. So you start with your darkest colour on the shadows and then you come out slowly to the lightest colour to where the light would be shining on skin or hair or anything like that, which will be your lightest colours. Just bringing in a small amount of E04 now, which is quite dark, just in those dark shadow areas. We're just going to blend those out now with E11. The reason we blend them out is so that you don't get a defined single line. You then just go over it again with the next lightest colour, which is E21, and we go all the way down to E000. So the next colour was E00, and then the last one will be the E000. And I'm just going to bring in the colourless blender. I'm just going to use this on the main highlight areas where I might have had a little bit of colour slip over. So on the nose, on the side of the face there, those sorts of things where I would want that to actually be more white. So the blender actually moves the ink away from that area for you. And just be careful though, because it does sort of spread out. So you can put too much on and it will leave clear blotches on your page. And then just re-going over all that with E000. Now I'm just bringing in 20. So I'm just going over the areas that I already did, just increasing the depth and colour, and it's desaturated a little bit because I've gone over it with those skin colours. And I'm just concentrating on the eyes now, using E000 inside the little fleshy part of the eye there and around the eyelid. I'm going to use a white gel pen just on the actual whites of the eye, so that when I use a marker it doesn't go over that bit. And also I'm going to use pencil here as well, so that will help me keep that white. And if you're just wondering what I'm doing there with my finger, I'm actually smudging the white onto the picture, so just spreading it out with my finger, that's all I'm doing there. So I'm just using China Blue. This is a Prismacolour pencil. Made it nice and sharp so that I can get into those smaller areas. And I'm using this on the iris part of the eye. So I'm just concentrating that darker blue on the shadow areas of that grayscale image. So it is the darkest areas of the image there in the eye. I'm just going to lighten up that blue now with some denim blue. I'm just going over the previous colour, and I'm just bringing that further around to the bottom of the eye there. On the bottom of the iris I'm going to do that and lighter blue so that it looks like it's got a shine off it. So I'll just colour that middle section there really lightly with no pressure. I'm also going to use this colour to do the tears. Now I'm just going to use powder blue, and I'm just going to go over some of these blue parts here to make them lighter. As I said, I'll do it in the bottom middle part of the iris there, and just going over the other colour. So the reason I did it lightly with the darker colour was so that I could put this colour on the top of it. I'm just coming in now with my favourite pencil, which is a white Prismacolor, and I'm just blending all of the colour in with this white pencil. It just makes it smoother, gives that blend a nice, I guess, a nice smooth transition, and it helps with the highlight areas and things like that as well. So now I'm just going to bring in the black Prismacolor pencil. I've got it really nice and sharp because we are doing really fine lines with this. I'm just going to line the top of the eyelid and also the pupil there. I'll colour that all in with black as well. I'm just going to add some white gel pen to the pupils as the reflection light. I'm also going to put a dot in the blue iris part of the eye, and I'm just going to put a couple of little dots just around the base of the eyelid there. Just coming back in with the white pencil and just defining those tears a little bit more. I'm also going to put a little bit on the nose there and also on the side of the forehead at the top there as well. I'm just coming in with the lilac pencil. I'm just going to do her eyeshadow and around her eye area. So I'm just defining her eye crease and also where the eyeliner would go on the top and the bottom there as well. I'm also putting some on the side of her nose there on the shadow and also on the side of her face cheek there as well. And I'm just going to blend that with the white Prismacolor. So if you did do extra colour or wanted to put more depth into it and went over it with multiple layers or different colours, just coming in with that white pencil helps to blend it smoothly. Just remembering too that with the Xpress Set blending card, there isn't any tooth on it, so it is really hard to get layers. If you are going to do a whole picture with just pencil, I would suggest getting paper that has a bit of a tooth on it so that you have the ability to be able to layer those colours. I'm just going to add some greyed lavender to the blend as well. So I'm just doing that nice and lightly. I'm not putting any pressure on that, just gradually building up that colour by lightly going over the top of it. And I'm just coming in with some light peach. Light peach is a flesh tone. I'm just going to use this to go over those colours. So I'm really using this like we would use the E000 or 00 just to help blend in those colours now as well. Just coming back in with the lilac now, nice and sharp. I'm just going to draw the outline of the butterfly on her forehead with this and just drawing the little lines there as well. Just coming in with Blue Violet Lake. I'm just going to do the middle of the butterfly and just spread that out a little bit. And I'm just going to blend that colour out with some more light peach. just so it's nice and smooth and you can't see that there's a line between the skin and the butterfly. There's just some little tattoo spots along her eyebrows there. I'm just going to do them with lilac. And just blending that in a little bit with the light peach. Bringing that sharp black pencil in again, we're just going to create some eyelashes on both of her upper lids. We're just going to keep them nice and little thin lines so that they look more realistic. And we're going to start on the lips. I'm going to use B66 to do the outlining of the lips, and also for the middle part in the lips I'll do this, and I'll just flick that marker up from that line, and then also flick it down from the line just to create the lines and cracks in the lips. These lines are also going to make it easier for blending the next lightest colour in as well. Now I'm just bringing in B63 over the top of the B66. I'm just going over the previous lines that I've done, and I'm just dragging them a little further out in towards the lighter area of the lips. I'm just coming in with B60, and I'm just doing this from the highlight area out to the shadow areas. I'm going to go over the lips with pencil just to give them a little bit more depth and some shine. So that's next. I've got lilac. I'm going to use this to just fill in under the lips, or between the lips there where that shadow is, where the lips are close together. Also a little bit around the edges and on the top and on the bottom of the lip. And I'm bringing back in the grey lavender and also a bit of white just to do the highlight areas of the lips. I'm just going to darken up those shadow areas with some violet. This will just help the lips look fuller and more realistic again. Just using some of that light peach now again just around the lips to add definition, and I'm also going to just go over the middle of the lips there again with some grey lavender just to brighten them up a bit. I'm just going to use that white gel pen and just put a couple of highlight spots on the lips there. I'm just using some lilac there, and I'm just going to go frame the face with that. So just putting a little bit on the skin there, around underneath the hair there a bit. And I will blend this out with greyed lavender. Okay, so we're now going to start on the hair. So I'm using B69. Now, as you can see with the grayscale picture, you've already got lots of shadow and depth in the actual picture. So I am just going to go over the shadow areas with this colour on this side of the hair. I'm going to use purple on the other side of the hair. So the Copic marker that I am using is brand new. So it did leak, as you can see there on my picture. So I just have another video which goes into a little bit more depth of how to get rid of it or how to cover it up. So I'll just go through quickly for the purpose of this video what I've actually done. So I'm just cleaning it up with a cotton pad, so a makeup cotton pad, and I've just put on there some clear or colourless blender, and I'm just using that pad to pick up some of that ink and take it off. So it's actually dragging the darker colour into the lighter colour there. Now I'm using the colourless blender exactly the same way as I was the cotton pad I should say, and just picking up some more of that ink and wiping it away. Okay, it's looking quite wet now, so I'm just going to leave it to dry off a bit and come back in a little bit with that colourless blender again. So I'm just going to return back to the hair using B69. And also I have taken the caps off both ends of the marker now, so it's actually leveled out, and I don't have any more spillage on that. And to help cover up that mark, I'm actually going to put some of the hair over the top of it there as well, so it'll help to disguise the actual spot more. And moving up to above the ear there. The ear I'll come back and colour with some skin tones in a little bit. All I'm doing really is lining, as I said, the darker areas that were already on the picture, but I'm just putting my own lines in between as well. So I'm trying to keep individual strokes so that it does look like individual strands of hair. Just gives it a little bit more detail, and it really does bring out the hair a lot more. And now I'm going to bring in B66. I'm going to go over the top of that colour that I've just done, and I'm just going to extend that further out, so make the lines a little bit longer, add a few more in between those as well. I am being quite rough and fast at this, but I find that the faster that I do those flicks, the better that they actually look. When I start to try and concentrate on them, the lines can get wobbly. They look more forced, whereas doing it fast like this, I'm actually just getting flicks through the hair, but they're nice and firm and they look good. So I'm just continuing over the hair, it going through to the length of the hair now, just filling over the image to fill them in, to fill that hair in. So with a large image like this, you can use a fair bit of ink. So if you'd prefer to use colours that you know you've got refills for, or if you prefer to go over with pencil, that's fine too. So just keep filling in the lines. As I said, try and keep those individual strokes because it's starting to now take shape and it does look like little individual strands of hair. So just going around the butterfly and the ear there, there would be a shadow on the hair. So I have done these areas darker and have brought it out lighter the further I've come away from that. So that's where you can see there with the butterfly, that the actual butterfly sitting above the hair there. Just coming in now with B63. This will be more of a highlight colour, so I'm just going to go over the top of the previous colours and extend them further out into the highlighted area. So just keep going over the top of the previous colour and spreading this out. So this will help give good transition between light to dark. And coming back over that spot on the face there, I'm just using the Colourless Blended. I'm using the chiseled tip, and because it's quite firm, it really helps to push the ink away from where I am needing it to be away from. So I'm pushing it further in towards the hair now, so you can see that it's starting to lighten up a lot. And I will go over this area with the E000, and I'm also going to use the flesh coloured Prismacolour pencil as well to go over that in a little bit of white. It doesn't look super clear and clean and crisp, but it definitely does cover up that big mark there. And we're going to go back into the hair now, starting with the darkest colour again, which was the B69, and I've taken the lid off both ends of it again. And I've just come from the top of the head there, doing individual strands again. Also doing a shadow around the ear and the butterfly there as well. I'm going to start with the darkest purple colour now, so I'm using V09 for this part, and I'm just going to do individual strokes again, starting from the top of the hair and moving down. So I'm using that dark colour now to just frame the face and put the shadow in on the hair, and still using those individual strokes to give you those separated hair strands there as well, just underneath, so from the shadow spreading that out more. So I just wanted to add a bit of purple onto the blue section as well, and the back of the hair of on this side I'm actually going to do purple as well, just to have it all sort of blend in together. Now, I do move the page around a bit here. I do apologise for that. It is hard to show you the whole picture with the small camera frame and angle there. So do hope that you don't feel sick or anything with all the movement of the page there. But yeah, hopefully you can still see the whole image and get the idea of where I'm going. If you do enjoy the tutorial today, I do have a few more posted on my channel. So if you'd like to get notifications of new uploads when they do appear, just subscribe to that so that you can get those. I've also got a blog as well, and I'll pop a couple of sites in the description box as well if you'd like to join our Facebook group. We do have a Facebook group. You can ask me some questions, even request pictures that you might like to have me colour. Now I'm just going over that with VO6. This is quite a large image and it is printed on A4 paper. If you were doing pencil, you could do it on a smaller A5 piece of paper. It would save pencil, of course, in these bigger areas where you're using a lot of strokes. And we're coming back over that darker blue now with B66. So we're really just adding to the texture of the hair by going over and over it again. I keep changing colours backwards and forwards between the lights and the darks because sometimes I think it needs a little bit more dark there. It doesn't quite look right there, so I'll add a little bit more colour to it. I'll also add some more streaks to it. And I'm now just going to come back over that again now with the B63 just to lighten up and go back into the highlight areas there. You really just got to keep working it out. So because there is a lot of hair, just starting from the top to bottom or starting with one colour and doing that colour and then going to the next colour is fine too, whichever way that you find is more comfortable and that you enjoy doing more. But yeah, I'm just spreading the colour out further and further out towards the bottom and the edges of the picture. I'm just going to bring in a little bit of VO4. I actually did run out of this colour marker while doing this tutorial and I didn't have a refill unfortunately, so I've had to change to VO1 after this runs out. Just adding some more B66 in there to darken up those strokes a bit more. And back to B69 to fill out the rest of the strokes in the hair down the bottom there as well. And we'll just go over that with B66 again. So for now we've done most of the hair. I'm just going to start on the butterflies. I'm going to use Y00 to go over the entire butterfly first. Okay, we're going to start with G14 and I'm starting from the outside edges and working my way in towards the middle of the butterfly. I'm now going to move to G21 and I'm just going to extend that darker colour down a little bit further closer to the middle of the butterfly again. I'm then going to add G000 to the rest of the area there. So I'll just spread it all the way in towards the middle of the butterfly again. So this is giving it different texture and building up on the colour on it so it looks more interesting to the eye. I'm now just going to add Y00 to the whole lot. If you were using pencils, this last step here might actually be done with either cream or white. Just to blend it all in smoothly and give it a nice transition between the different colours I've used. I'm just going to now repeat the same colour combination on the other two butterflies as well. So after finishing the butterflies, I noticed that the back of the hair there needed a little bit more hair and a little bit more detail. So I've just gone back over that and lengthened the hair there and also added a few flicks in to make it look like real hair. You know, obviously we haven't just got dead straight hair, we have wispy parts sitting out. So I've done that with these same colours I used before. I've just started with the dark and then spread it out till we get to the lightest colour. Okay, so now I've done that, I'm actually going to work on the background. So I'm going to use the colours that we've used in the hair for the background. So I'm using VO1 first, and I'm just going to spread that over the left side of the page and just above her head there. And then I'm going to move across to the other side, and I'm going to use some of the blue, so B63 I'll use on that side. Now this is quite rough. I haven't blended it evenly or anything like that. I'm just trying to fill in the colour at the moment because we are going to go over it and put some more colour into it and some other mediums on it. I just wanted to get the base colour down. I've used the chisel end of the marker because it does do quickly a larger area. So that's what I'm doing here. Now you don't actually have to use your marker to do this part. You could use dry pastels, chalk pastels, watercolour, anything like that that you feel would get a similar effect you could do. Watercolour, you could put splotches of water on the watercolour, which will give you that bleeding effect. You could just use the grey background and just go over with different colours, smudging in your pastels, which we're actually going to do after I finished doing in the marker part of this. So at the moment I'm working on the blue side of the page, so the opposite side to what we did with the purple. So I've just used B63 here to do that. Now I am going to swap some markers in and out now. I'm going to use some B60, some BV00 and V000 to help blend the colour in a little bit more around her face and into the hair a bit more. Okay, now I'm going to start on the bleeding parts of the background. So all I'm using here is the Copic colourless blender. I've put it in an eyedropper so that I can drip it onto the page. You could use a cotton bud, something like that, where you can just give it a squeeze and little drips will pop out on that as well. I'm just using a cotton bud to spread out the clear ink and other colours that I do put on it occasionally. I did just shake the page then to shake some of the excess off so it wouldn't run back into the hair. So that's the only thing with using this, is you do need to be careful that it doesn't bleed into the hair, because it will take the colour away from that spot. I'm now going to use a various ink for BV 40. I'm just using it directly from the ink bottle. I'm just dripping some on. I'm spreading the colour around the areas that I just did with the clear. So I'm just putting this in just to give it a little bit of colour, because I could still see the grey through the drops of clear that I did do. So I've just spread this around. You might not have, as I said, the inks like this. If not, obviously you could use watercolour. There's other mediums out there that you can use to get a similar effect with. Okay, now that's dry, I'm just coming back in to redefine some of the shadow areas in the hair. So I'll use the darker colours. So for the blue side, I'm going to use B69 and B66 just to give the streaks a little bit more definition. And after I'd done the background, it did look like some of them were washed out a little bit. So I'm just filling those in now. And then I'll go to the purple and I'll do some VO9 and some VO6 just to give it, I guess it helps to highlight the highlight areas by doing this. So I'm just coming back in now with the VO6, and I've noticed just on the edge of the page there's a bit of hair that's flicking out, so I've added that in. And you may like to add little bits and pieces around the hair, just as random strands flick out of the hair. You can add those things. Just gives it a little bit more depth, and it looks more like real hair when you do that. So I've just moved to the butterflies. I just wanted to show you two different techniques that you could do with this. If you're not very confident with the black marker and doing thin lines, you may like to use a pencil. I'm using a Prismacolor black pencil on this top butterfly just to show that you can do it with a nice sharp black pencil there as well. So I'll fill this butterfly in, and then I'm going to move to the other butterflies with the black marker and do the black outline. Just with the black marker, being another dark marker, I do take the caps off both ends of it just in case you get those drips. Okay, so now I'm doing the black marker. I'm just going to do as much as I can to the lines that were already there by the artist. Sometimes though it is hard to keep the same colours and the same shapes and things like that going because the grey's been covered over now with colour. But really it doesn't matter. You could draw in your own shapes here as long as you can see the difference in colour in each of those little parts of the butterfly wing there. You could put any pattern that you really like on there to give the same effect anyway. Also here you could use a fine liner. I was just thinking that before. So even if you don't want to use black pencil or the marker, you could also come in with a thicker fine liner. I just wanted to explain a little bit why I've done the butterfly this greeny yellow colour. Because I wanted the butterflies to really stand out off the page, I've decided to go with a complementary colour. So basically, most of the picture is purples and blues. So across from purples and blues, you've got greens and yellows. So that's why I've added that in there. And it really does make it pop off the page, and you can see them clearly in the picture. And I'm just bringing in the white gel pen now just to pop some spots on the butterflies there. I do have to go over this a couple of times because the colour can bleed through it, so you can just pop in and redo it before you finish off the picture. So I'm just adding some highlights into the lips and in the eyes. And I'm also going to add some highlights in the hair. So I'm going to use the white Prismacolour pencil for the hair, and I'm just going to do thin strokes from the highlight area out to the darker areas just to highlight it a bit more. As you can see by doing that the hair highlights are now a little bit brighter, the shadows are now a little bit deeper because of the lightened highlights. Just going to add some more blue flicks of hair down the bottom here. I think that it was a little bit empty and the hair kind of just stopped, you know, and blended into the background too much. So I've just put a few streaks of the B69 through, and then I'll go over them to lighten them up again with the other colours. I'm just going to use some Stabilo Chalk Pencils now in the background. So I've just picked a couple of colours there. I'm using this one here is the purple. Look, I've got some colour numbers. I'm using 335, 365, 385, 425 and 450. So I've just alternated between these colours, and I'm just, as you can see, putting little swirls through it, smudging it in with my finger just to push the colour through and just build that up a little bit more in the background. And I'm using the white Stabilo pencil here to just blend all of that in together now. So I'm just sort of going over areas where a little bit of grey might have been showing over, and I've put the white over the top of that then. So it's all really starting to come together now. It actually looks quite good. But after finishing off this part of it, I do feel that the face needed a little bit more definition, and also it's called Fairies Cry Too, so I'm going to add some tears in as well. So here I'm going to be using Prismacolour pencils. So I'll just run through them as they come up. The first pencil that we're going to be using is Violet Blue, and we're going to use this to do the outline of the tears. So I did have a little bit of trouble on this side of the face because of the marker leaking previously, so the paper on this has been compromised a bit, so it was a little bit of a struggle to pop this in on this side. The other side was quite easy to do though. I'm now going to come over that with the China Blue and just blend that out a little bit more, and I'm blending inwards now. And I've just brought in Blue Violet Lake to go over the top of that again. And then the lightest colour there is Powder Blue, and also the white pencil I'll use as well. So I've now got the violet blue again. I'm just doing the more defined outline on the tear there. I'll blend that out a little bit with the China Blue and then back in with the Blue Violet Lake. So I just keep alternating from dark to light, and then I'm also going to use a gel white pen to put some sparkle in the tear, so a couple of dots on the edge of it and along the length of the tear. And we've got some China Blue. I'm just defining the other tears as well. So yeah, I'm just using the pencils quite lightly on the page. You don't really need a lot of pressure on them because it's so smooth and the pencils are nice and soft. It's quite easy to sort of get it to glide on. I'm just popping in that white pencil now here again, and I just used the Blue Violet Lake to blend out that China Blue a little bit there underneath the eyes and on the side tears as well. So little white dots are just like sparkles from the light on the tear. Just coming back in now with Violet Blue again, just to define the edges of the tears, and then I'm going to blend that out with the China Blue. And now the powder blue, oh sorry, the blue violet lake, and then the powder blue and white again. And a few more gel pen spots in there now. It's still looking quite flat. The face hasn't got a lot of definition. The tears have got no shadows. So I'm going to start to slowly build up colour in those areas in a minute. I'm just going to pop a tear down here on the cheek as well. So exactly the same as what I've done on the previous ones there. Starting from dark to light. So how do we get those tears to really pop off the face and look like they're more rounded? We would add in a shadow behind them. So I'm using, still with the Prismacolors, I'm going to use some skin colours now. So this colour I have here is burnt ochre, so I'm just going to use that now. I'm going to blend it out with some peach and then some light peach and then finally white again in some spots. So I'm just putting it on the outside edge of the tear. Blending that out at the moment with just the peach. Still not quite dark enough yet, so I'm going to come back in with the darker colour again. So I've got that burnt ochre. Back over with the peach again. Still not getting a lot of definition, so we'll add some more colour in, add an extra colour in to sort of give it a little bit more depth in a sec. So I'm just going to try doing the darker colours again, and this time I'm actually going to add peach in. So I've done the burnt ochre, then peach now, and then I'm going to go with the light peach. So we'll just keep going over it until I get the colour that I'd like or the look that I'm looking for. So yeah, I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm also going to put some shadow underneath the hair on the side of the face there, around the streaks at the bottom of the hair there, and also I will, I think, put some more definition into the jaw and the nose and things like that as well. So we're going back to the burnt ochre again. Blending it out with the peach and then the light peach. Just going underneath the side edge there with the burnt ochre again. So yeah, I'll just keep switching the colours around, trying to get a little bit more depth underneath those teardrops. And I'm just coming around the shadow areas of the hair. So I'm just doing the burnt ochre first. I'm just going to put it in all around the edges that are sitting on the side of her face there. Also around the streaks that we've done there. Also on the chin and around the lip. And just a little bit around the nose. It's really just defining it. Putting that extra colour layer in helps to give it more shape. Coming in with the peach and just blending that out a bit. And then the light peach again. To the corners of the eye with the burnt ochre. Blending it out with peach. And then the light peach. Just blending out those darker shadows on the side of the face with the peach now. I'm just brushing away the pencil pieces with a makeup brush there. I'll put a little bit more burnt ochre on the side of this curl, just to make it look like it's lifted off the face a little bit. So the more you build up the colour, the more shadow and depth that you have, the more rounded and expressive the face looks. Just going to put a bit on the side here to give her a little bit of a cheek. Just deepening up around the eyes and the creases of the eyes there, using burnt ochre. Giving her a bit more of a forehead too. Blending it out again with the peach. Starting to look less flat now. I'm just blending that in with a bit of the light peach again. So you can see the more that I add in there, the rounder the face looks. Some white. Just got that peach there in the eyes. Blend that out a bit. Peach. That's the light peach now. Just blending out the shadows with the light peach again down the bottom. And the chin I've sort of rounded off a bit at that line. Blending in the colour that I've added on the cheeks there. Just going to darken up that shadow under that tear there. This is where the paper's actually been ripped up a little bit, so I've just had to go over it a little bit more here. You won't have to do that because you won't have that mark there. So it's starting to look really good now. Just going to keep putting in highlights and adjusting it to my own personal taste. You can do the same. If you feel like she needs to have more shadow in places, you could add that in. It is really just fixing up and defining everything in the face that I'm doing now. I'm just going to use some blush pink, Prismacolour again still, just in the cheek areas here, because that's the rosy cheeks there on the sides. Will give it a little bit more definition. And I'm also going to pop a bit of this into the eyeshadow as well. Just blending that out now with the peach. And the light peach. Still a bit more shadow in the chin. I've sort of made the line on the chin in a half moon, upside down half moon there, to give that chin some more definition and shape. As it said, it is just really looking at the picture and thinking, that still looks like it's flat on the page. I want to lift that up a bit, and just adding in the dark and blending it out to the lighter colours again. So I'm using the peach again here to blend out what I did with the darker one. Light peach. Back on the chin. Just brushing away that dust again. Just going to bring in some lilac on the eyebrows and in the shadow area again. A couple of dots are blended out a bit because I went over them. Just redoing those. Just going to blend that out now with, and just define underneath the eyebrow there with the peach. Blend it out with the grey lavender. So they actually look like they're more forward now than they did a minute ago. Brushing that off again. Just going to use some of that blue violet lake around the nose, the shadow area of the nose, just deepen it up a little bit. I didn't want to go too much because it will pull up the grey that's already underneath the pencil now. And then some grey lavender over the top of that. It's not very good light in this video, it's a bit of a shine on there, but the end picture you'll be able to see once this is done. Some light peach in there to bring the highlight back in. Just a little bit more with the peach there in the shadow. And then I'm just going to go over the top of all the white spots again. I also use this gel pen to go over the hair. I've popped a little, sporadically put little dots on the highlight areas of the hair as well. So you can put them anywhere. You can put them on the background if you would like. But yeah, I've just done it, redone the highlights on the tears here, and also redone the highlights on the butterfly. Don't forget to do the ear either on the side there, but this is the finished product now. Just want to thank Michelle for allowing us to do this colouring page, and if you really like this video, please subscribe so you can get updates on when I upload the next ones. Thanks again.